In a stunning turn that has captured the attention of fans across the Sister Wives universe, Janelle Brown and her daughter Madison Brown Brush have finally opened up about a deeply personal family decision that many viewers have quietly wondered about for years. The mother-daughter pair, known for their close bond, their shared resilience, and their surprisingly aligned approaches to navigating the aftermath of the Brown family's public fractures, have revealed just how far apart they plan to live from one another in their next chapter of life. What seemed like a simple question about logistics unexpectedly unfolded into a raw, emotional conversation that shed new light on their relationship, their priorities, and what they envision for their futures beyond the lasting chaos of plural marriage. It is no secret that the breakup of the Brown family's once united household has changed the dynamic of every relationship within it. After leaving Kody Brown, Janelle entered a phase of independence unlike anything she had experienced in nearly 3 decades of polygamy. Meanwhile, Madison, who moved to North Carolina years earlier to build a quieter life with her husband Caleb and their children, has often been viewed as the Brown sibling most distanced, geographically and emotionally, from the tumult that continued to unfold in Arizona. With this backdrop, fans naturally wondered whether Janelle saw herself relocating closer to her daughter, or if Madison hoped her mother would one day settle in her state to be part of her grandchildren's everyday lives. The new discussion, filmed for an upcoming segment of the Sister Wives franchise and teased by the network through exclusive sources, revealed something far more layered than fans expected. At first glance, the announcement appeared to be a simple update on living arrangements. However, as the pair talked through the emotional details behind their plans, it became clear that the miles between them carried a deeper meaning, one tied to healing, autonomy, and redefining what family connection looks like outside the shadow of Kody's collapsing plural marriage. Janelle began the conversation by reflecting on the journey that brought her to this moment. She shared that for years she considered North Carolina a possibility simply because of how deeply she loves being around Madison's children. She even revealed that the months she spent visiting Madison after losing her son Garrison in early 2024 made her question whether her heart could handle returning to Arizona, where so many painful memories remain. Those weeks in North Carolina, surrounded by the giggles of her grandchildren and the grounded environment Madison has built, were a balm to Janelle's spirit. She admitted that she felt peace there, a kind of peace she had not experienced in years within Kody's sphere. But Janelle is not a woman who moves impulsively. Even during plural marriage, she was known for being the strategic thinker of the family, the one who balanced budgets, kept the household functioning, and kept a level head when emotions ran high. In the interview, she explained that while she adores her daughter and grandchildren, she also feels called toward forging her own independent path. For Janelle, this phase of life is not simply about where she wants to live. It is about reclaiming herself, establishing autonomy, and building a future based on her choices, rather than on the expectations placed on her during the years she spent navigating a plural family system that rarely prioritized her emotional needs. This realization became the anchor of her decision when she revealed that she plans to stay in the western region of the United States for the foreseeable future. She spoke candidly about how her younger children, especially Savannah, still need her physically closer, at least until they fully transition into their own adult lives. She described how uprooting herself to move across the country, even for the joy of being near Madison, would create its own emotional complications. She also noted the practicalities of work, her independent business, and the community she has built in the West. When asked how far she expects to live from Madison in the long term, Janelle surprised fans by saying she imagines maintaining a distance that keeps them physically apart, but emotionally intertwined. She explained that she believes relationships can thrive without proximity, especially when the foundation is love, communication, and respect. Her intention, she shared, is to visit regularly, stay connected, and remain a present figure in Madison's life, even if they are separated by several states. Madison, ever the straightforward and emotionally intuitive daughter that fans have come to adore, added her own perspective. She expressed that while she would love to have her mother nearby for the small, everyday moments that make motherhood both exhausting and beautiful, she also supports Janelle's desire for independence. Madison has seen her mother sacrifice for decades. She watched as Janelle spent years compromising her own happiness to accommodate Cody, the family structure, and the constant balancing act required of a polygamist wife. Madison said her mother's next chapter should be different, more self-directed, and free of the burdens she carried for so long.
She also revealed something that took fans by surprise. Madison spoke about how she does not want to be the reason her mother uproots herself and potentially loses the chance to rediscover who she is outside motherhood. She said that while her door will always be open and her home will always be a place of comfort and welcome for Janelle, she believes that forcing closeness can sometimes stifle personal growth. Madison explained that she wants her mother to move towards something rather than away from something. This candid insight showcased a level of emotional maturity that resonated deeply with the audience. As the conversation deepened, the two women discussed the meaning of physical distance in relationships. Madison shared that she has always believed that emotional closeness far outweighs how many miles stand between two people. She reminded viewers that during her time living in Montana and later in North Carolina, she never felt disconnected from her mother. Janelle was always present through calls, messages, surprise visits, and long conversations about life, parenting, and the shared experiences of escaping plural marriage. She noted that even though they live thousands of miles apart, she often felt more seen by Janelle than she ever did by other family members who lived just minutes away back in Las Vegas or Arizona. The honesty continued as the two addressed fan speculation. For months, Sister Wives viewers had questioned whether Janelle might move to North Carolina following the painful loss of her son and the final collapse of her marriage to Cody. The rumor gained traction as fans noticed Janelle frequently traveling to visit Madison, spending long periods of time in the state, and expressing joy whenever she was there. Madison addressed these rumors head-on, saying that while the thought of her mother living closer was comforting, she understands that healing is not linear and that sometimes people need to root themselves in familiar soil while they rebuild. In the most emotional moment of the interview, Janelle spoke directly about the fear that comes with starting over at her age. She said that after decades of stability, whether comfortable or complicated, rebuilding one's identity is not easy. She described waking up some days with overwhelming uncertainty, unsure of where she belongs or what comes next. She shared that while being near Madison would offer familiarity and love, she feels that part of her healing requires standing independently, learning how to navigate the world without relying on the structure she lived in for half her life. For Janelle, distance becomes a teacher rather than a barrier. Madison supported her mother wholeheartedly, adding that children should not expect their parents to orbit their lives indefinitely. She emphasized that parents deserve their own dreams, adventures, and growth, just as children do. This line resonated powerfully across social media, where fans praised Madison for her emotional insight and her understanding that closeness is not defined by postal codes. The question then naturally shifted to specifics. How far apart will this mother-daughter duo likely be? While they avoided giving an exact mileage, viewers deduced from their conversation that Janelle will likely remain in the western states, while Madison continues her life on the East Coast. This means several thousand miles will separate them, but neither woman expressed concern. Instead, both emphasized that the bond they share is strong enough to transcend geography. As the interview wrapped up, the tone shifted from emotional revelation to hopeful optimism. Janelle spoke warmly about her intentions to visit North Carolina several times a year and to stay as active as possible in her grandchildren's lives. She shared that she dreams of creating traditions that do not rely on living nearby, such as long summer visits, holiday trips, and extended family gatherings that give her something to look forward to throughout the year. Madison smiled through tears as she shared her excitement about these future plans, saying that she looks forward to her children growing up with the knowledge that even though Grandma Janelle lives far away, she is always a constant presence in their lives. The conversation left fans reflecting on the meaning of distance, independence, grief, healing, and the evolving nature of family after the collapse of plural marriage. It illuminated the fact that love does not always require proximity, and that sometimes choosing to live apart is the healthiest decision two people can make. It also revealed a new, deeper layer to Janelle and Madison's relationship, showing that they navigate life with honesty, acceptance, and an unwavering commitment to supporting each other's emotional well-being. In the end, the emotional heart of the story lies not in how many miles will separate Janelle and Madison, but in the fact that they are choosing connection on their own terms. They are proving that the bonds formed through mutual respect and shared truth remain unbreakable, no matter how wide the map stretches between them. Their story is a reminder to viewers everywhere that family is not defined by physical closeness, but by the courage to allow each other the freedom to grow, the space to heal, and the security of unconditional love. If anything, this revelation offers a refreshing and empowering chapter for both women. For Janelle, it represents independence, healing, and the pursuit of her own identity after decades of emotional sacrifice. For Madison, it represents respect, maturity, and the willingness to support her mother even if it means accepting distance. And for fans, it offers a rare glimpse into the emotional reality of rebuilding a family after the fractures of polygamy, shedding light on what it truly means to redefine home, connection, and unconditional love.
The cameras had barely begun rolling when the emotional temperature inside the Brown family universe shifted so drastically that even seasoned Sister Wives viewers felt the change before they fully understood it. It happened quietly at first, the way earthquakes sometimes begin with invisible tension beneath the surface. But what unfolded quickly became one of the most unforgettable on-camera meltdowns in the show's long history. Kody Brown, the patriarch who once built his identity around unwavering confidence, sudden declarations, and an ironclad belief that he could navigate any storm, broke down in tears as Robin Brown revealed a truth so painful, so piercingly honest, that it shook even him to his core. It was a moment that viewers were never meant to forget, a moment where the facade of strength cracked open to reveal something raw, vulnerable, and deeply human. What made the scene even more shocking was not simply the tears themselves. Kody has cried before on camera, especially throughout the turbulent seasons that accompanied the unraveling of his marriages to Mary, Janelle, and Christine. But this time, the tears came from a place that felt different. This was not the frustration he often expressed in past episodes, nor the defensive anger that defined so many of his later conversations with the other wives. This was grief, mixed with confusion, fear combined with disbelief, and above all, a profound awareness that something he thought he understood completely had slipped out of his control long before he noticed. Robin's revelation did not simply surprise him. It dismantled the assumptions he had built his emotional life on for more than a decade. The scene began innocently enough. Robin, who has long been perceived as the wife closest to Kody emotionally, and the wife he seemed to favor above all others, had agreed to sit for a one-on-one interview segment to provide her perspective on the latest family fractures. She sat upright, but visibly tense, her hands folded tightly in her lap as the producers asked her to reflect on where things stood today compared to the family's early years in Utah and the hopes they had once shared. Robin's voice remained steady, but her eyes revealed something else entirely. A truth she had been carrying for far too long, one that she had struggled to articulate even in private, let alone under studio lights. The moment Kody joined the interview segment, sitting beside her and appearing visibly exhausted by months of tension and guilt, the air in the room changed. He leaned forward, ready to defend himself if needed, prepared to soothe if he could, and clearly assuming that whatever Robin had to say, it would fall within the familiar script the two of them had been repeating for years. He believed he knew her, believed he understood her heart and mind, believed she would speak from a place of unity even when addressing difficult truths. But what came out of her mouth next was a confession he had never anticipated. When Robin finally spoke, her voice trembled, not from fear of Kody's reaction, but from an emotional exhaustion that had built slowly over years of feeling unheard, misunderstood,
and ultimately invisible in ways she had never acknowledged publicly. As she began to describe what she had experienced behind the scenes, her words carried a heavy grief that made the crew fall silent. Robin admitted that the weight of watching the family fall apart had crushed her spirit long before it was visible to viewers, and long before Cody even realized she was struggling. She confessed that she had felt utterly alone during the most chaotic phases of the family's collapse, even though she was married to the husband who repeatedly claimed she was his emotional anchor. She revealed that his protection of her often came at a cost she could no longer bear, because rather than shielding her from pain, it had forced her to carry the burden of everyone else's anger. As she continued, Robin's words became more intense. She explained that she had tried to warn him many times that the other wives felt alienated and resentful, not just because of the family's logistics, but because of the emotional favoritism that no one wanted to acknowledge. She confessed that she had begged him, in private moments that never made it on camera, to repair his relationships with Mary, Janelle, and Christine before they reached a breaking point. But the truth she revealed next was the one that stunned Cody into silence. Robin admitted that she no longer recognized the man she had married, the man who once built his identity around patience, fairness, empathy, and a steady hand. She saw him now as someone lost inside his own defensiveness, someone blinded by pain, someone unable to hear the emotional needs of the people he claimed to care about. And in a moment of devastating vulnerability, she confessed that she had reached a point where she no longer felt emotionally safe in their marriage because he could not see the depth of her suffering. That was the moment Cody broke. The man who had spent countless hours in confessionals defending his decisions, the man who insisted that he was doing the best he could under impossible circumstances, the man who sometimes dismissed the other wives' emotional withdrawals as misinterpretations or exaggerations, suddenly found himself unable to speak. Tears began to gather in his eyes, and he dropped his gaze toward the floor as if the weight of Robin's confession had physically pressed down on him. He covered his face with his hands, wiping tears away in a gesture that felt oddly childlike, a raw display of emotion stripped of ego or performance. For the first time in a long time, viewers witnessed Cody Brown not as a husband navigating complicated plural marriage dynamics, not as a father caught in the crossfire of divided loyalties, not as a television personality struggling to maintain an image, but simply as a man who had failed someone he loved deeply without even realizing it. The producers let the cameras roll as Cody finally found the strength to respond. His voice broke immediately as he admitted that he had never understood the magnitude of what Robin had been carrying. He confessed that he had assumed she was stronger,